Okay, hi. So now we have completed the defined reference spectrum, and that is lit up in green. And we're going to move on to refine peak width and shape. So the first window that pops up shows us this black peak and then a bunch of colored ones. We are going to try to eliminate the colored ones that do not match the black peak. So first we have this really good overview. And here I just like to eliminate the peaks that really quite obviously don't look good. And then after that, you can use these yellow buttons at the bottom to zoom in on different areas and be a little bit more picky. I like to jump to the peak first. And from there, I feel pretty good about that. And then I move down to the tails, where usually there is a lot more drama. You can also eliminate multiple peaks at once by holding down, I believe it's Shift and hovering over, or it might be Control. I have it in the notes. And then, yeah, I feel pretty good about these ones that are left. I have 10 and 11 remaining. I usually like to have at least 6 to 7. So I'm definitely in that range here. So I'll click Save and I'll choose for all files. And then I'll close that down. And then this window here is the second part. So this red line is our peak width function. So this is a function that we're developing to go from a Gaussian fit on our peak to some custom peak fit. And then these black dots represent the peaks used to calculate the function. So when you hover over these black dots, you can see these black little crosses fitting a red peak in that top right screen. And when I jump to each black dot, it's a different one. So what I'm doing here is I'm just hovering over each black dot and making sure that the black crosses are only grabbing one red peak and the shape matches pretty well. In this case, all of them do. And they're also pretty spread out across the red line, so that's good. There are some buttons up here that I'm just going to point out, and in the notes I say how you can use them. We have auto iterate and tolerance, which we can use to sort of optimize and refine a fit if we're doing a trickier workflow. And then the last thing that I'll point out in this bottom right spot is that for the ELF, we typically want to be at about 1,000 resolution, and that's what we have here. So all of this makes sense, and I'm happy with it. But before I save, I'm just going to point out that if you hover over one of these black dots and the black crosses are capturing two peaks or no peak at all, or it just doesn't really look good, it's not the correct shape, you can click on it to eliminate it. So I'll just do it for one here where we have a lot and now it's gone and you can sort of faintly see that outline. But if yours looked similar to how mine did, you don't have to eliminate one. So let's click Save and we're going to go for all files. And then we can close this down. And one other thing I'll point out on this video is that we can see things happening in this Topher notebook as we do them. So here we saved both our peak shape and our peak width that are the customs that we'll see in the MassCal. So it's kind of a nice sanity check to see that the buttons you're clicking are actually happening and processing. All right, thanks. See you on the next video.